Hello, folks. So I've just done my knees over toes guy training today. Low intensity, high impact. For the lazy man, perfect training. Not that it's lazy exercise. So find out for yourself. Get on it. Obviously, that's not what this video is about. This video is about the shadiness behind this poor girl who's been found in bits in a field somewhere by this armed copper who looks after diplomats. So there's been a few cases of diplomats where they've gone awry. They go missing. Like this Ghislaine Maxwell, has she got diplomatic passports? Who knows who's got diplomatic passports? Who knows anything about this shady world of these governments? So the thing is, even if you were jogging along there or walking the dog or, out for a walk through the countryside near there, this registered armed policeman, whatever you call it, of diplomatic status, mutilating to death this young lady, leaving her body in bits. That's how our body's being found. Not only does it call into compromise the endless mishaps that is continuing with not only the Met, but also with all of the police as a world franchise, because that's what it was. There was no police until there was police. Then now there's police everywhere. America has a slightly different system with the sheriff. In Britain, the sheriff is seen as the ceremonial role only, although plays important parts in the judicial system. So the judicial system is supposed to be the third branch of government, giving the people power, and rightly so. It should be the first branch of government, really. But obviously it's being corralled by all of your Cosa Nostra lawyers into forming another branch, given that all of the judges are either of that tribe or belonging to the Masonic lodges, which is run by that tribe. So my point is, your Englishman and your Welshman, which makes up the United Kingdom, England and Wales, after King Henry VIII annexed Wales, ended Welsh law, and now it's all under the one jurisdiction of the United Kingdom. Scotland came later in 1707. Ireland came later again and didn't last long. It lasted a couple of 100 years. So it's Wales and England is the jurisdiction. Scotland has its own jurisdiction. Northern Ireland has its own parliamentary assembly. Wales has a parliamentary assembly, but it's not a parliamentary assembly in its assembly. But by the by, guns are legal for shotguns, for hunting, or rifles. So there are, if you're in a gun club, there are actual licenses that you can get to own a gun. Okay, so England is not armless in that sense, but the police are armed. There's military, well, when I say military, they look like military with the submachine guns that they carry around. So it's supposed to be illegal to have a private army in Britain, but the police act like a private army in Britain for the government, for the banks, for the whole crooked empire that's not your average Englishman, you're British. And obviously there's a great big thrust to vilify the British, the English, the Welsh, with all of the rhetoric that goes on, which is actually funded, supported, promoted and encouraged by the government, with political correctness, bringing in all of the immigrants deliberately so that they can be funded ahead of us, get businesses ahead of us. So everything's geared up all around the world, the rhetoric, the advertisement, the media push. It's all the British, the Dutch, the French, all the Europeans, like the white people, basically the Americans, you know, I don't, even the Australians, I think, are seen as like, I don't know about New Zealand yet, but certainly that Jacinda, whatever her name is, the Prime Minister there, that's not a woman. That is definitely 100% a man. And I'll post a video of that where you can see she's literally carrying a package. And when she was pregnant and had the baby, she never got the baby till 3 months after she'd had the birth. So, Texas, open carry. Other states, concealed carry. What does that mean? Open carry means that you carry a gun on your holster on your hip as a sidearm. You know, if you're wearing shorts, you can have it in your holster, your leg holster. You're carrying it openly, as we saw with some of the statue removals. Open carry was in action. You know, people could see open carry right away. So my proposal is that because the police have open carry, now if you were jogging, walking your dog, having a walk, whatever, heard screams, and you go and try and stop this militarized, diplomatic, armed policeman, there is a chance now that in the pursuit of life, of saving life, you could lose your own life through a lack of weaponry, lack of adequate, sufficient weaponry. You know, you could maybe use a catapult if you're good at a catapult and smash him in the eye. But the thing is, the risk is that he can shoot you in the head. He's trained in arms. You're not. Generally, you wouldn't be. And certainly, you wouldn't be out with your gun if you know, at the current state of affairs, you're not armed. In England, Wales, you're not armed. So you wouldn't necessarily have arms with you. So the chances of you combating someone, a murderer, you know, a cold-hearted murderer like this who's killed a young girl, he's obviously trained in more than just arms. He's obviously trained in combat too. So, you know, he's obviously licensed as a, he's a, what do they call it when your hands are lethal weapons? He's a lethal weapon, a potential lethal weapon, and it's carried out that he has become a lethal weapon. So we don't know what's going on in his thought processes. Could be cocaine, could be you know, whatever funny drugs that they give them in the tea there, what they reckon that they slip them in, they're on steroids and all this. You know, no one knows the measures because the police are at arm's length with the people. The funded by the people, allegedly. You know, that's the big, oh yeah, well, we're a public body, but they're not answerable to the public. They're not allowed to be held account to the public. The history dictates that they're not allowing themselves to be held account to the public. They throw a few crumbs off the table as a pittance, you know. So the thing is, if there was someone who was armed walking past at the right time to save the girl, he could have shot that man in the leg, in the body, in the head, depending on the circumstance. So there would have been a chance for the girl to survive. Now the thing is, because we're not armed, it's not safe for us to go out on the streets when now the police, renegade rogue police, be it as you will, are out there mutilating a young woman in this instance. Now there are various cases of police over the years. It's been escalating. I don't think it's ever been this bad, but there's got to be some sort of lobbying or calls for a re-regulating of arms, personally, I would feel more comfortable concealed carry. I'm okay with open carry. Open carry is more than welcome, because I understand that when people are trained and understand, the lethal capacity of arms. For example, in Texas, there's virtually no gun crime. In Chicago and New York, where guns are virtually banned, if you didn't know that, that is a thing. You're not really allowed to carry guns in Chicago and New York. The police are. For example, there was a guy called Shayla Bergstein or something, a Jewish fella. He'd been throwing money under the table to get licenses for Jews in New York to get guns, because it's extremely difficult to get licenses for guns in New York. And obviously with the Boogaloo, the Jews are on watch, because, they, Menachem, what's his name? The big case there where he was found smouldering at the bottom of one of those American dumpsters, being killed by the two black fellas. Shady business with the prostitutes and the heroin and the money laundering and all that stuff. And then when it was found, he was linked to all Obama, President Obama, all sorts of shady accounts, and he had all hundreds of network connections to do with shady property deals, which ultimately Trump and Kushner sort of reflect that intertwining of that network. So the thing is like to get license here, should take a test, should be trained, should have to go, every 3 months or so and show that your skills are adequate and that you understand the fundamentals and this. And people around you will know, like I say, in Texas, where the gun crime is low, as opposed to Chicago, which is off the charts. New York, pretty much off the charts. Detroit, I believe, is, pretty bad. And other places, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, LA, Louisiana, they're down in Baton Rouge, them sort of places, Miami. So I think it's an urban problem, whereas in Texas, there's no problem with open carry and a few other open carry states, because people around the place know that there's a means for vigilantism. If someone starts, it's like, well, you've now got potentially someone pointing a gun at you to at least quell the violence, so that, civil discord can be carried out in the civil manner that we're supposed to have in the civilization that we've spent a long time building up. Anyway, that's my say. So come what may, be as it is, I stand by what I'm saying, because I think it's the right sort of way that we should be going in the direction of looking to allow a young lady to at least carry. Because you've got to remember, how many rappers have you heard who've been shot 6, 7, 8, 9 times or whatever, or stabbed all these times, whatever. But I'm talking about guns, because there are types of guns that wouldn't necessarily kill you. So if the girl had like a small purse gun, she could at least defend herself by shooting them in the leg. It gives her half a chance, more than half of the chance that she received. See what I'm saying? There are little tiny compact guns. They're just enough, they'll do enough damage to allow you the chance to get away. Because at this rate, what's going to be next? What's going to be next? Always got to look around the next corner. Why? I don't want to get on a rant about why the girl, should be past now, and thoughts and feelings with a family deepest condolences. It's a terrible and tragic event. So the thing is that there should be concealed carry for sensible people. There should be the right to be able to defend your neighbour, your family, your interests, because in the Firearms Act it says that you can't use the excuse, because you can write to the Secretary of, I think it's the Home Secretary, which is that crook Priti Patel, who was forced to retire, but forced to resign, because she'd made all shady deals with Mossad, Netanyahu. She made like 17 contracts in Israel when she was on holiday. So she got removed from that post. And then Boris Johnson, who's well tied with the same crew, he's got her now as the overlooker, the Home Office Secretary she is, which owns the police. They run the police. And now we've got the police doing things like that. Not good enough. Not good enough by a long chalk. Not my government. End of. See you later.